Hey everyone, new day upon us. Welcome into the latest TDR Cannabis in 5, presented by Dutchie. I am your host, Shad Dales. Listen, according to a new report from Marijuana Moment, lawmakers in Virginia are already setting the stage for adult use cannabis sales, drafting regulations, reviewing licensing structures, and prepping agencies to move fast once the governor's race wraps up later this fall. So here's the key. If Abigail Spanberger wins as expected, retail cannabis could launch as early as 2026. So if that happens, Virginia could easily become the next big catalyst for the U.S. cannabis industry, something we haven't seen in quite some time. We need more markets to come online, and Virginia fits that bill right now. Let's get into our latest TDR Cannabis at 5. All right, Virginia was the first southern state to legalize personal possession and home grow back in 2021, but commercial sales stalled out when politics changed hands. So now lawmakers are quietly rebuilding that framework. They're working through tax models, licensing criteria, retail zoning, and equity provisions, so they're ready the minute a pro-reform administration takes office. So my takeaway here is Virginia checks every box: population density, border proximity to DC and Maryland, and a ready-made medical infrastructure. It's the same perfect state to carry cannabis reform momentum into a new chapter, and a welcoming one too. So we'll get into this more and explain why, but right now, a word from Morgan & Morgan. Hey everyone, there's a reason smart investors celebrate when their portfolio jumps 40% in a year, just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Think about it. When you're investing, you want the right team in your corner. The same is true if you're injured in dealing with an insurance company, and that is where Morgan & Morgan comes into the equation. Why? Well, they've got more than 1,000 attorneys and over 100 offices nationwide, and they've been fighting for people for over 35 years, and their track record is hard to ignore. Let me explain a little bit further. Case in point, in Florida, a client was offered $350,000, but walked away with $12 million. In Pennsylvania, another client, they turned $650,000 offer into $26 million. That's a 40x return. So in total, Morgan & Morgan, they've recovered more than $25 billion for over 500,000 clients. So really, when you hire him, it's like bringing in a legal army that has your back. Because if you're injured due to someone else's negligence, you deserve to be paid. And let's be honest, not all law firms are created equal. But with Morgan & Morgan, their fee is free unless they win. You can start your claim right now by clicking the link in the description below or by scanning this QR code on your screen with your phone. At the end of the day, if you want what you deserve, make sure you go in with the right team by contacting Morgan & Morgan today. Now, let's get back to the rest of our video. All right, thanks, John Morgan, for you and your team and what you've done for this cannabis space. Okay, so what's actually happening on the ground right now as we talk about Virginia again? Committees in Richmond have been reviewing licensing timelines, product testing standards, and seed-to-sale tracking protocols to make sure adult use legalization doesn't turn into the rollout chaos we've seen in other states. They're also studying Maryland's 2023 model, where they focus on speed, compliance, and early-stage tax allocation for community reinvestment. And we saw how Maryland took off, and it took off in a hurry. So my take again, Virginia, it isn't trying to be first, it's trying to be efficient, which is good. Lawmakers know investors and voters are watching, and this time they want to deliver a market that's clean, that's competitive, and scalable from day one. This is the right process. So now let's fast forward and think about this. If Virginia indeed goes adult use, it's not just another win, it's a momentum shift for the industry. A legal market in Virginia would link DC, Maryland, and the South, creating a continuous legal corridor and forcing neighboring states like North Carolina and Tennessee to confront the reality of prohibition, how it doesn't pay. So for investors, it's the kind of story that rebuilds confidence. It's proof that new markets are still coming online and that smart policy can lead real growth once again. So if Virginia indeed pulls this off, it could reignite capital inflows into the cannabis sector and really in some ways reshape how the industry values regulatory execution over, let's face it, speculation. So here's what to keep your eye on. One is the outcome of the governor's race later this November. 2, how the legislature finalizes the licensing framework this winter. 3, whether existing medical operators will transition into adult use market or compete in a new licensing round. Think companies like Dutchie and Verano. So if timelines hold, adult use retail sales begin by mid-2026. That would make Virginia one of the most anticipated cannabis launches in the country. You remember those days? I do, and let's bring it on. So here's the bottom line. Virginia might be the next domino the cannabis industry desperately needs. Of course it is. With serious planning, bipartisan awareness, and real economic upside, the state is without a doubt quietly building what could be one of the most stable legalization frameworks in America. And really, when that happens, it won't just shift policy, it'll shift confidence. And confidence builds trust. And trust, well, it builds customers and the growth of an industry. So let's see what happens next, and if indeed Abigail Spanberger will be the next governor of Virginia later this fall. That's it for our latest TDR Cannabis in 5. Let us know if you like this breakdown by giving it a like, smash on that bell for all notifications, and greatly appreciated if you could subscribe to us here at TDR. All right, that's it for today and our latest TDR Cannabis in 5. Until next time, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm your host, Shad Dales, and thanks again for watching.